obtaining the Pac-Rim Colloquium is a great pleasure, my great honor for me to the presenter. From the agenda, we can see that the Colloquium will last for 2 days. For this morning, this will be opening activities. Now, I have the great privilege to introduce some distinguished professors. First, Vice President Yuni Xu of SHU. Please. Next, now present Dr. Boris Kozorchi. Professor Feng Jun of SHU Law School. Professor Bao Jichao of SHU Law School. Followed by the speakers, there will be inauguration of the LT No Shanghai and a great privilege for Dr. Boris Kozorchi. Let's warmly welcome Vice President Yuni Xu to address.
Dr. Boris Kozorchi, National President and Professor of Law at the University of Arizona, Dean Clara Sadrowski, Faculty of Law of University, Mayor Chile, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my pleasure this morning to welcome you on behalf of the staff and the students at Shanghai University of International Business and Economics. Abbreviated to SWIBI. I'm pleased that officials and experts from the Pac-Rim countries have accepted the invitation to attend this year's Colloquium and with our campus. I'd also like to thank our co-hosts, National Law Center for Inter-American Free Trade and University of the Mayor of Santiago, Chile. And in particular, Dr. Boris Kozorchi and his campus for all their hard work. Approved by the Ministry of Education of PRC, Shanghai Institute of Foreign Trade was renamed as Shanghai University of International Business and Economics in April 2013. Now, this institution has developed into an international, multidisciplinary, and high-standard university focusing on subjects relating to business, economics, and law. Additionally, all of the programs we provide are featured with global settings in order to further improve education quality and strengthen the academic research ability. Our university has been actively engaged in international research cooperation and academic exchanges with overseas universities and research institutions from US, Great Britain, Germany, France, Australia, and many other countries. In this term, we have initiated a series of academic activities like the recent SWIBI KAS WTO conference, Global Fiscal and Monetary Policy Outlook, Key Challenges for Emerging and Mature Economies, as well as the second Pac-Rim Colloquium on Economic Development and the Harmonization of Commercial Law. The next one will be the academic grand finale in this regard, which also shows the latest developments of the international academic cooperation of our university. With the deepening progress of globalization, newly complex legal issues set up in all the fields include commercial law, and it is also known that commercial law plays a crucial part in the international communication. Shanghai is the financial center, trade center, as well as shipping center of China, and the first free trade zone in mainland China. Shanghai Pilot Free Trade Zone was set up in September 2013. Our university is the only international business school in Eastern China region, and the School of Law, one of the key schools of SWIBI, was founded in 1984 as one of the earliest law schools in Shanghai, and has earned a distinguished reputation as educating legal professionals who are good at international economic law, fluent in English, and familiar with trade and policy. Around 1 month ago, the law school celebrated the 30th anniversary and announced the establishment of Legal Research Institute of WTO and FTA. Thus, it is our concern and we're to participate in the new era of international commercial activities. The thematic topics of this colloquium closely follow the recent trend on today's global theme and of the great interest to our professors. Here, we are honored to have officials, experts, academics, and entrepreneurs from different countries and institutions. In the upcoming 2 days, we will exchange ideas on the latest developments of commercial law. We will also put forward constructive opinions on simplified companies, electronic warehouse receipts, security transactions, e-commerce, data rehabilitation, and insolvency. Meanwhile, the host of the second Pac-Rim Colloquium, building on its traditional strengths in international economic law and commercial law, Sweden Law School will work side by side with National and University there to realize the 2-day international forum. And the professors at Sweden Law School will introduce China's commercial law and practices, interact with government officials and law school academics from the Pac-Rim countries, and help analyze the commercial laws and practice of this region. Last but not least, I wish this conference a complete success, and I wish you have a very pleasant and memorable experience on our beautiful campus and in prosperous Shanghai. It's now my honor to invite National President and Professor of Law at the University of Arizona, Dr. Boris Colloquium. Thank you.
Professor Yongming Xu, just me, with whom we expect to have very close working relationships in the future. And all of you for being here. Sadly, Dean Clara Shalansky of the Universidad Mayor is undergoing surgery, so she could not be with us here, but Professor Rodrigo Novoa will be talking after I do briefly to introduce to you Universidad Mayor and its role in the organization of this, as well as the first Pacific Rim Colloquium. I'd like to say a few words about the how this Pacific Rim Colloquium conferences, or colloquia, were started. They were started by a group of Latin American countries on the Pacific Rim side, Mexico represented by Professor and legal advisor Diego Ramos from the Ministry of Economics of Mexico, as well as from Costa Rica, Professor Joaquin Picado, and from Colombia, we have Dr. Santiago Rengifo, who's the head of the registry system for secure transactions. And again, in the case of Chile, the Universidad Mayor represented here by Professor Novoa. Originally, the agenda for harmonized commercial trade was going to be a regional Latin American agenda. Nonetheless, as soon as we had our first meeting in Chile announced, there was a very strong expression of interest from China through Dean at that time, Lisa Chen. I don't know whether Lisa is here today, but she expressed a great deal of interest in participating. And then from Professor Naoshi Takazuki, is Naoshi here? Not yet. From Doshisha University in Japan. And before we knew it, the very first colloquium that was going to be celebrated in Chile became a Trans-Pacific colloquium. Vietnam was there, represented Professor, I'm sorry, Kim Min-lu from Japan, from Vietnam, accompanied us there, and fortunately he's with us here today as well. So we had at that point a representation of several Latin American, Pacific Rim countries, and also a good number of Asian countries. And the idea was how to arrive at uniform or harmonized commercial laws for critical areas of trans-Pacific trade. And the meeting in Santiago de Chile concluded with a unanimous recommendation that there would be 4 topics to discuss and try to create working groups in the next meeting to start working on the harmonization of these topics. The topics were, number 1, simplified companies, how to create a company simply but effectively in any of the countries involved in a manner in which those companies could operate not only in their countries but also in the other Pacific Rim countries as well. It was very fortunate at that point that the National Law Center was also working as a non-government organization at the United Nations, working with the topic of simplified companies at the United Nations. We're very lucky to have Dobromir Christo with us here. He represents the World Bank at that entity, as well as some of the other people present during that set of meetings at the UNCITRAL. And the idea was to have a simplified company, but that would have 2 key characteristics. One was the characteristic of creditworthiness. It was proven by very fine studies conducted in behalf of the Gates Foundation that the main reason, or at least one of the main reasons why these simplified companies did not make progress, and many of them did, and were done in a few years, was really the fact that there was a lot of commingling of the assets by the entrepreneurs. And as a result of this commingling, it was not easy for them to get credit. That is when the National Law Center suggested that as a component, an important component, to fortify, strengthen the capital structure of these simplified companies, particularly the small ones, that there be an accounting standards and forms component. We invited one of the leading accounting firms in the United States, and perhaps the leading one in Florida, represented by my cousin, Boris Rosen here, to present us with standard forms to discuss in connection with a proposal that will be led by Licenciado Piero Ramos, who represents, as I said, Mexico, as the person that is now drafting this particular set of recommended rules for UNCITRAL at the United Nations. So the first topic will be one that will involve the discussion of how to create these simplified companies, how to make them creditworthy, how to make them simple, and how could they acquire national treatment. That is to say, a company organized in China could operate in Chile as if it were a Chilean company and vice versa. So those are the goals of that particular topic. The second topic is the topic of secure transactions law. And in this topic, the idea is to try to bring about a closer regulation of these transactions in both sides of the Pacific. on the Latin American side, there has been already a very significant accomplishment in that a good number of countries have enacted and are in the process of enacting those secure transaction statutes. So the idea will be to try to obtain from the group that will be meeting on the panel on secure transactions a way in which what has been done in Latin America and the United States and Canada and other developed nations could be adopted trans-Pacifically so that a company that obtains credit in, again, let's say in Vietnam, could have that filing of a credit transaction or a secured interest available in any of the countries in the Pacific Rim region. So credit would become truly a regional operation. The third topic is the topic of electronic warehouse receipts, negotiable electronic warehouse receipts. And the topic of that topic became crucial once agricultural commodities became a very important part of the trans-Pacific trade. It is not a surprise to many of us that a country like Brazil had an enormous growth in the last few years predicated upon its exports of agricultural commodities, and the moment that those sales fell, then Brazil was in economic problems. So this will give you an idea of the significance of the topic of electronic warehouse receipts, particularly on a negotiable basis. What will be discussed in this third panel on electronic warehouse receipts is how to create a standard prototype electronic warehouse receipt across the Pacific. How a cotton that may be stored in the United States or in Colombia or in Mexico could be not only stored there, but the electronic receipt that is issued by the warehouseman could be sold, could be or negotiated or pledged across the Pacific. There will be a component also of a negotiable bill of lading in the case that there is transfer of that particular ship. Again, what that does is it mobilizes credit for the agricultural sector, and it also enables the creation of regional markets on this particular very important topic. Then e-commerce. The topic of e-commerce was not in the original group of topics that had been approved unanimously in Chile. It was suggested by Dean Lisa Chen. I do not know whether she had a premonition at that point that Alibaba was about to become a reality worldwide, but it was her suggestion, and we started working with that suggestion, and we're very happy that some of the really top people in the field in Asia and maybe in the world will be participating in the discussion of what has to happen in e-commerce to be able to bring about this development. Finally, the topic of insolvency and rehabilitation. We're very lucky that we have here the senior part of the Novoa family, Licenciado Héctor Novoa from Chile, who very kindly has suggested and has agreed to moderate this panel together with a group of very distinguished scholars in this respect. And the idea is to make sure that these small companies that are so important to the economies, both of the Asian and the Latin American side of the Pacific region, have a second chance. That if something happens to them, that instead of being dead and gone forever, they have the opportunity, if they have the right constituents, personal capital, etc., to be able to be in business again and succeed, sometimes wildly beyond the expectations of their first incarnation. So these are the topics that will be discussed in this meeting, and we're extremely happy to be here. We're very also interested in your views. The manner in which those views will be heard will be depending upon the moderators of each one of the panels, because the panels have certain goals to accept and to accomplish, and once those goals have been accomplished, and there will be an open session with the audience so we can hear your views. I also want to acknowledge the presence on the side of the National Law Center of two of our very devoted board members, Ms. Carol Colombo, who's been with the National Center since its very creation 23 years ago, and Mr. James Nelson, a very distinguished lawyer. He's been also a head of companies that have been located in China for quite a while, and he's been kind enough to join us from Colorado to this meeting. So thank you very much for being with us, Carol and Jim. And with that, I'd like to pass on the rostrum to my dear friend and colleague at the board of the National Law Center, Rodrigo Novoa, who in the absence of Dean Sharansky, who, as I said, is being operated, would like to say a few words about the Universidad Mayor.
Good morning to everyone. First of all, I want to give you the words of Clara Sharansky, that she will not be able to come here. As Boris said, she's going under surgery, have a problem on her back. But I have been appointed to replace her and give some words about the Universidad Mayor, that is one of the co-organizers of this Pacific Rim Colloquium. Actually was the organizers of the first Pacific Rim Colloquium that Boris described it in the intellectual part of it. I will give you a words of how this was created in a very special way when Boris and Clara Sharansky were driving through Tucson, Arizona 2 years ago, and they got lost. And they started to talk about all these ideas, and they finally got to the National Law Center after 45 minutes instead of a ride that should take 10 minutes. They were both walking to me, laughing and saying, "You have a lot of work to do." It was the idea of putting together a network of universities and people from the business side and the public sector on the topics that Corey described that will help to implement what the government has also implemented before, that is the trade agreements between the countries. This idea is to help business to develop within those countries that are already partners. What Boris described is the life cycle of a business. You get created with the corporation, you grow with the credit, and if you have a problem, you have a new opportunity with insolvency. So all these things together is the idea of having this Pacific Rim Colloquium that we were very happy and lucky to organize the first one. And also at that moment was the opening of the National Law Center first office outside of the United States. There was and is now the National Law Center Chile at the Universidad Mayor, that I'm very happy to be the head of. So I thank you, Boris, for the trust. I thank Suive for being the followers of this idea, and all the sponsors that have made this happen. And I hope that we have 2 days of very interesting conversation. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for the presentation. Okay. Actually, last year we signed a great agreement between the national skills in the cooperation of academic research cooperating between the two parties. So our issue law school take it very seriously. Now it's time to have the inauguration of National Shanghai. I believe that the establishment of this research center will be the milestone of our cooperation and a fresh start of academic research cooperating between two parties. So it's my pleasure to ask Vice President Yongyi Xu and Professor Kershik to lift the cover page. A new page. ceremony. As you know, Dr. and Professor Curtis is a leading professor in the world with many achievement, contribution to the research and the harmonization of the commercial of the world. So it's my pleasure to announce that our ship will give his honorable professor to our ship last one. So it's my pleasure to ask the ministry to speaking to the professor. Okay.